Are we live? Where am I? I don't understand. Okay. Hang on, kids. I don't understand what's going on here. Where am I? How do I don't understand Brian's setups. I'm sorry. I apologize. Um, damn it. All right, well, I don't know what's going on, but I'm here. I'm here. You can't see me. And I don't know why. Brian's setup is so different than mine, and I apologize for that. No, that's not it. That's not it. I can't get this banner to disappear, and I don't. I don't know why, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm here, and I'm live, and gosh, there's always something. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Do I do this? Hang on. Something over here. There I am. Hey, everybody. They've got a weird setup, and it's just different than what I'm used to, so I'm sorry. So I apologize for the slow start. But it's Wrestling Observer Live. We're live 7 days a week. It's Jim Valley, King of Recovery, died 6 times, all that stuff. You know the drill. We don't need to go over that. I have a bit of a different show. The people at Sports Byline in San Francisco. Why am I doing this? Things up. We don't have a producer today, so we are not live on Sports Byline. However, we do have a new show. So if you're listening on Sports Byline or on SiriusXM or all the other over-the-air places, it's an interview I did with my good friend Dan Murphy. Used to be at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He's an author, historian, really good guy. And he has a new book. It's about Ed Don George. And Ed Don George was a wrestler from about 100 years ago. And he was an AWA champion. Not Vern's AWA, the Boston AWA at the time. And he was involved in a very famous screw job with Strangler Lewis and Lou Thez. He was also an Olympic wrestler. He taught hand-to-hand combat in the Navy. And so it was, he was the real deal. And he lived a very fascinating life. Plus, Dan has got some fun stories about his time at Pro Wrestling Illustrated, about his fandom, and about having to break up a fight one time. Early morning in a parking lot, along with Rowdy Roddy Piper. So, some fun stuff. So be sure to check that out. Now, if you are not listening live, don't worry. I'm going to take that interview with Dan. I'm going to stick it on the end of this show. So stick around for the show with Dan and his book talking about Ed Don George. By the way, if you want to, you can go to Scott Teal's website. I believe it's tealbooks.com. But Scott Teal's website, that's where you can buy the Ed Don George book and other of Dan Murphy's books. So be sure to check that out. Great gift for the wrestling historian on your holidays. All right, so what do we have today, here, now? Well, if you're live right now on YouTube, we'll cover SmackDown, Drew McIntyre, and poor Julia. Plus, that national title, that damn national title that Tony Khan introduced. Too many titles. So many titles. Back in my day, we had one title, and we liked it. Is there no chat? Can you guys not chat? Do I not have a chat? Can someone try to chat for me? Do I not have a chat? Hang on. Am I there? No, I'm there. Okay. Just checking. Usually people are in the chat. Maybe you guys are feeling quiet today. That's fine. Whatever works. Yeah, this setup is way different than mine, and I apologize. Also, Tanahashi has his last opponent at Tokyo Dome announced. Doesn't get much bigger or better, in my opinion, but surprise, people still bitching about it. That's what people do. Also, we got new champions in Noah, including talent from NXT. And you know what? We always start with WWE or AEW or TNA. And you know what? Just for fun, let's switch things up. Let's talk about the Global Honor Championship. We have a new GHC heavyweight champion in Noah. It's Yoshishiki Inamura. He defeated Kenta in the main event overnight, finishing the former champion off with his patented splash from the top rope. And after the match, Inamura was confronted by Kaito Kiyomiya for his first title defense. That should be good. There's good talent in Noah. They do really well considering the situation in Japan, I think. Also, new tag team champions in Noah. New GHC tag team champions, Hank and Tank. Yep, that Hank and Tank. Hank and Tank from NXT defeated Masakita Miya and Takahashi Sugiura. Takashi Sugiura, sorry. They were immediately confronted and challenged to a future title match by Marufuji and Geno, which, hey, look, I'm looking forward to when Hank and Tank leave Noah and don't drop the titles. Looking forward to that. But until then, if they actually do have a match with Marufuji and Geno, I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, those guys could learn a lot by being in the ring with Marufuji and Geno. So, I mean, for their sake, I hope that match does happen because, I mean, that's a classroom, one match right there. So that's, the point is to work with people different and better than you. And Marufuji is, he's a professor. He's done so much. And, he's coming to the end. He's not what he used to be. We're all victims of Father Time, but, I mean, to get in the ring with someone, that kind of experience, he could teach them a lot. So, fingers crossed. But anyway, looking forward to when they just leave and don't drop the titles. That'll be fun. Also, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, won the Crash Tag Team Championships Friday in Tijuana at the 14th anniversary show. They defeated Deluxe and Badass Jr. and also the defending champions El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and Galeno Del Mal in a three-way match. Anderson pinned Deluxe with the Magic Killer. And Tanahashi's final opponent at the Tokyo Dome is going to be, drumroll, Kazuchika Okada. Now, to me, that makes perfect sense. But apparently, some people, I guess, are upset, saying it should be Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, obviously, Nakamura and Tanahashi, they also have history. They were stablemates in chaos. They had that match at the G1. Obviously that would be something. However, look, with all due respect, Nakamura, has got some miles on him, much like Tanahashi has miles on him. And look, I am sure that these two pros could get in the ring at the drop of a hat and, given their knowledge of psychology and working and everything, could pull something off. But I personally think it's better to have Okada, who's a little younger, definitely some miles, but less mileage. And the other thing is, when you're talking Tokyo Dome and Wrestle Kingdom, I mean, Okada and Tanahashi, had that series of 3 Tokyo Dome main events: 2013, 2015, and 2016. And it took Okada 3 matches to finally subdue and win the title from Tanahashi in Tokyo Dome. So, I mean, to me, this makes perfect sense. And I would expect Okada to win, and that way they're tied 2-2 each at Tokyo Dome. I don't understand why people are complaining about this, because it makes perfect sense to me. And, considering the relationship that AEW has with New Japan, and there's not really a relationship with WWE for the most part, it makes perfect sense to me. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a big dumb guy. But God, people will complain about everything, won't they? It's like, what is the big deal? Anyway, I think it makes perfect sense. Looking forward to that. I'm debating about going to Tokyo. It's like, I really miss it. I miss Japan so much. I miss Tokyo so much. Even though Wrestle Kingdom, Tokyo Dome is like the worst place to watch wrestling. But it's fun. And just going to see all the fans wandering around, I miss it. So I'm debating going. I'm leaning toward going. So we shall see. But I'm thinking about it. Strongly thinking about it. We'll see. Anyway, SmackDown last night. I never know what to say about SmackDown. It has a formula. It follows the formula week in and week out. It rarely, if ever, strays from that formula. The formula is fine. It works for WWE and SmackDown. But it's never like, oh my gosh, what a show. I mean, it meets a certain standard. It's entertaining for the most part, and it is what this. You can't really complain about it. It's not horrible, but at the same time, you can't really overly praise it because it's not horrible. And it's just a show. I know Brian, he'll get on and he'll rant about Ava, or he'll love NXT, or complain about this, and I just feel like you can't do anything. It just, SmackDown is SmackDown, and it's SmackDown. That's pretty much all it is. It's just SmackDown. So, yeah, it's just SmackDown. The big news: Chelsea Green, now a 2-time women's U.S. champion, after she defeated Julia. Now, while Green got a distraction outside from Alba Fire and had her feet on the ropes, Match lasted, like 90 seconds. And Green is the first two-time U.S. champion. Good for her. And it's funny to see people debating Julia in her reign online. Some saying she's not a good fit for WWE. Others say, no. She was the longest reigning U.S. champ of all time. In its storied history of what? A year? We'll talk about Julia in a second. About titles. Too many titles. Titles. Everywhere. Ruins everything. Hate it so much. Anyway. Oh, thank you for that, Crash TV. I appreciate it. Thank you. So I knew people were in the chat. Thank you. Like I said, Brian's got his setup different than I have mine. So I'm still adapting to all of this. And like I said, I'm just here by myself. I don't have the big staff. I don't have the music or the graphics. Just you and me. And we're out here just doing our thing. So I appreciate you being here. Ilya Dragunov successfully defended his men's U.S. title for the third time in as many weeks as he beat Johnny Gargano, much to the chagrin of Tommaso Ciampa, came out for a challenge and said, "No one calls me a jackass." And of course, the Carolina crowd said, "Jackass." Took him a little bit, but they eventually did it. All the old tricks. They always work. Anyway, Gargano got in the ring after Ciampa, and Dragunov chose Gargano. So obviously they're building a Ciampa Dragunov match, maybe next week, somewhere down the road, probably sooner, rather than later. But the thing is, it was a good match. It felt like Johnny wrestling was for 8 minutes. Johnny wrestling. That's great. I mean, it's great to have, I guess, for lack of a better term, like the old Intercontinental title, the Workers' title. And maybe this will help elevate Dragunov. And that's good. Put him in there against some good workers so you get one work rate match, whatever you want to call it, on SmackDown every week. Nothing wrong with that. So, SmackDown started with Cody. What do you want to talk about? Talking about Drew McIntyre. Drew, you're in the rearview mirror, buddy. We're done with you. Cody's looking forward. Aleister Black and Zelina came out. How do I put this? And I'm one to talk, but Aleister Black has got a weird cadence. I don't think he's I'm not saying he's a bad promo, but I don't think he's a WWE promo, if that makes sense. But maybe just because he hasn't done it enough on WWE. So Zelina slapped Cody, and we have a main event later tonight. Aleister Black and Cody Rhodes. Promo by Jade Cargill. I'm that bitch. Again, Jade Cargill's she's not really a WWE either. Anyway, there she is. Nia Jax seemingly has a new ally as Lash Legend debuted on SmackDown, attacking Alexa Bliss from behind at ringside during Jax's match with Charlotte. Charlotte got squashed with that Yokozuna butt drop, got pinned in the corner. Lash Legend, Lash Legend is legitimately, probably the best athlete in North American wrestling today. Got the credentials, and it's kind of amazing that it's taken her a while to kind of get the hang of all of this. But it doesn't speak poorly of her, I don't think. I think it speaks about how difficult it is and how well-rounded you have to be as an athlete, as a performer, to be good at wrestling. You can't just come in. I mean, she has incredible credentials. And, it's taken her a while. And I think that speaks to like how good you have to be at everything. Talking and acting and wrestling has a different sort of stamina. All kinds of things. Getting ring shape plus psychology. People will say, oh, wrestling is fake. Whatever. But it does take a lot of factors and a lot of different skill sets to be very good at it. And I feel like people kind of blow it off saying, oh, they're just good actors. And it's much, much more than that. Got to be improv at times. It's much, much more than that. I feel like there's just not enough respect for how difficult it can be, particularly at a very, very high level. Backstage, Alexa Bliss is injured. Charlotte's there. They're in the trainer's room getting looked at by doctors. Suddenly someone hands him some ice. And it's Asuka. She's dressed in doctor scrubs. She's in full makeup gimmick. But she's got, the mask over her face. I didn't know people wore masks. But, so she pulls down her mask, blows mists in Charlotte and Alexa's face. So, the Kabuki Warriors run off. Anyway, Drew McIntyre interferes in the main event. Hits the ref with the Claymore to end Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black. Come on. You saw this coming. You knew this was going to happen. Damian Priest runs out, attacks Drew and Black. Nick Aldis comes out, suspends Drew McIntyre indefinitely. So, there you go. Like I said, it's a fine show. Things move forward. Oh, and then, I forgot, Tala Tonga won his match against Rey Fenix. So, welcome to WWE, Ray. Welcome to WWE. Hope you enjoyed being out of prison. You poor slave. You poor prisoner. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway. So next week's SmackDown, they announced the Last Time Is Now tournament. First round, LA Knight versus a mystery opponent. Last Time Is Now tournament. First round, The Miz and Jey Uso. And then we got Jade Cargill versus B-Fab. Ooh, that's short. That should be mercifully short. Collision tonight, already taped. Moxley and Roderick Strong. Final and deciding match to determine which team gets the first entry into the men's Blood and Guts. Plus, Jamie Hayter's Sky Blue, women's Blood and Guts Advantage Battle, match 2, and Harley Cameron versus Tekla for the women's Advantage match, match 3 if necessary. Then you also have the M&M collection. They're going to feature another M&M TV casting call. So anyway, someone goes Jey Uso versus The Miz. I've noticed a lot of people, and I hadn't really, is it live tonight? I apologize. Collision is live tonight, so that hasn't happened. I'm sorry. Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here to correct me. Thank you. Anyway, I had to watch, because of my house, I watched, Dynamite. I had to watch Dynamite with the sound off. So I missed the national title announcement. And I saw it on some, I don't know, maybe somewhere on Blue Sky or somewhere. And I was like, what? And someone put the NWA national title to Billy Corgan. NWA national, which is the old, looks like the old U.S. title, the old chic U.S. title with the Mid-Atlantic, U.S. title belt. And I'm like, that's not really, that's the national title, but it's also not the national. So I thought the national title thing was a joke. I thought it was one of those wacky, I was like, oh, did R.D. Reynolds do this or something? So I didn't know it was real. So that's probably why I missed the fact that it's live tonight, so I'm sorry. Anyway, speaking of that national championship, thank you, Zartan215. I appreciate you. Thank you. Anyway, national championship. There's too many titles these days. Dear Tony Khan, there are too many titles these days. Please get rid of 3. P.S. I am not a crackpot. Can I ask you a question? How many titles is too many? How many? How many? What do you think? You know, back in my day, we just had 1 title, and we liked it. We had a heavyweight title, we had a tag team title, and we liked it. Yeah. Well, you know what? Hang on. So, since less is more, someone told me on Blue Sky, less is more. Always. I was like, okay. Let's take a look here. You know who has less titles? The women. The women have, the tag team titles are a different animal. So because they're defended on every show. So let's put those aside. Just talk about the singles titles, because those are very easily defined. Okay? You've got, obviously, the top title, the world title, or the WWE Women's Championship, depending on the show. And you have an Intercontinental title on Raw, and a U.S. champion on SmackDown. Easy enough, right? Well, let's take it, since I have to watch SmackDown every week. Let's watch the Women's U.S. Champion. Is Julia a bigger star for having held the U.S. title? She should be. It's only one of 2 women's singles championships. That's less is more, right? And she's the longest reigning U.S. champion of all time. Right? Of all time being, what, a year? Anyway, she's the longest reigning. Well, I gotta take a look here. Hang on. Let's take a look here on the phone. How many title defenses did Julia have? Let's see here. Oh, well, look at that. Julia had 2 women's title defenses. One against Zelina Vega, who most everyone beats, and another one against Michin, who everyone beats. 133 days, longest of all time. 2 title defenses against the women. Again, they're very talented, but they are the low rung on the booking totem pole. Everyone beats them. And now Zelina now, isn't even a wrestler anymore. She's the valet, or whatever you want to call her, partner in crime of her husband, Aleister Black. Used to be, back in my day, you had a 30-day rule. Apparently it's a 60-day rule. Anyway, so Julia beat nobody. And it's like, what's the big deal? She should be thought she's a bigger star now. But less is more. There's less titles on the women's side, fewer titles. I hate when people do that. Everyone mixes up. Less and fewer titles. Let's take a look again. How about Judgment Day? They're the tag team title holders. There's 2 men's tag teams, champions, one on Raw, one on SmackDown. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Judgment Day. Their title reign, they held the titles 112 days. Any guess? Anybody in the chat want to guess? How many times did Judgment Day in 112 days defend the titles? Anybody want to guess? Let's play The Price is Right. It's the Showcase Showdown. If you go over, you lose. If you wonder, you win. Anything in the Showcase Showdown can be number. Zartan says 1. Anybody else? You know, Zartan, you're close. It's 2. 2 title defenses in 112 days. But they were both against one tag team. You want to guess who they beat? Twice? Those number 1 contenders. The dominant tag team. The Latino World Order. Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. Reign began June 30th, 2025. They lost to AJ Dragon Lee, October 2025. And twice, they defended the titles against one team. Talented team. But again, on the pecking order, they're pretty much at the bottom of the rung. No disrespect to the LWO and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. They have been dealt a bad hand, but that's what happens to small guys in WWE. Again, it's not the number of titles. It's what you do with them. There it is. Julia, she a bigger star? No. Judgment Day's tag team titles. They do anything with them? No. And look, I get that you've got to protect people, and you can't just have, Julia come out and just beat Charlotte or, whatever, or whoever. But at the same time, what was the point? What was the point? Someone mentioned, where is it in the chat here? Hang on one second. Where was it? Someone says, where is it? I can't find it. Yeah, someone says, Julia isn't even a bigger star since she left Stardom. Yes. There it is. That's the one I'm looking for. BVR writes, back in my day, JCP had 20 belts, and we liked it, right? Why isn't anyone bitching about that? Remember when the Four Horsemen had 4 titles? Remember, you had, obviously, Ric Flair's world title, Tully Blanchard, often the TV champion, or Arn Anderson TV champion, where they were world champions. Lex Luger or whomever, Barry Windham, U.S. champion. Plus then, also the UWF title, the Western States Heritage Championship. Remember that? That was never defended, ever. Plus the U.S. Tag Team titles. And that was when they had one show. Back in my day, we did this. It's just, it doesn't matter the number. It's what you do with it. Now, talking about AEW. I think they're giving Okada a title because he's Okada. And he needs that aura. And that's fine. They did the thing with Eddie Kingston, where he held the Triple Crown Championship. It wasn't really anything, but it also didn't kill anything. It wasn't really, just kind of a thing they did for them. And that's probably going to be, I don't know the story of this national championship, but it doesn't really bother me because we haven't seen what's going to happen. Now, a couple of months from now, 6 months from now, we see that they do something cool with it, then we're fine. Or they do nothing with it, and it's, what's the point? I mean, I would be fine with a national championship that, like, you give to Mark Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe gets a little title to defend. Give him something. I don't have a problem with that. You give him a title, and he can defend it against, Roderick Strong. He can defend it against, Kyle O'Reilly could win the title. A lot of people could win the title that aren't necessarily going to win the, WCCW had a lot of belts too. Yeah, how often once the Von Erich started passing away, sadly, once they did, the six-man titles became more and more irrelevant. They had a light heavyweight title. See, I would argue that what AEW needs is a light heavyweight title, cruiserweight, lucha title, something like that. That's what you need. And you need, like, if when Hologram comes back, he's won 1 million matches. He should have a title. It's like, it doesn't make any sense that Hologram's won a cajillion matches and never gets a title shot. But, that's what I think. I think that, the Western States title, 2 people on the title, Wyndham and Zabisco. And also, what I didn't understand about that Western Heritage title is that Jim Crockett Promotions rarely went to the West. What is a heritage title? What does that mean? Last I knew, the West still existed. I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly sure. Fairly sure. But it's just, people just say less is more. Well, why? We live in a world where you've got a cajillion options for entertainment. You've got a cajillion options for restaurants. You've got a cajillion options. We were out to dinner the other night on Thursday, and my friend, our cousin woman, she's not into sports. She's kind of a book reader, so she's not always up on things. And she looked up the TV and goes, they have Thursday night football now. How much football do we need? And, well, it's not news that it's Thursday night football, but it's like, we've got so much of everything. There's so much of everything. We got just piles. And I mean, that's the thing now. We have too much of everything. Big fat Americans. Big fat world. Just gorging ourselves on food, gorging ourselves on entertainment, gorging yourselves on your hobbies. Wrestling. How many wrestling shows do we need? Do we need wrestling 7 nights a week? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, somebody says he has to go. It's too many injuries. Oh, I went to Washington State University. I don't know if you know this, but we used to be part of the Pac-10 and then the Pac-12. And now we're the Pac-2 because no one likes us. And now we play little small community colleges because they wanted to have a big fat league to make big fat TV money. Everything. But the other thing, you gotta look at it from the wrestling standpoint, the promotion standpoint. If you're not doing anything major with Julia, why do you want to have her beat a major star? That's really the situation. How much do you want to put into somebody? If Julia's, and I don't think she is, she's not getting over. And that's too bad. Big fan of Julia. like many people, very surprised that she's not over. But I don't know that anybody saw Stephanie Vaquer. Maybe they did. Saw her coming out of nowhere and capturing the imagination of the WWE universe. Yeah, Crash TV says, like the pure title is a very specific rules. Hardcore title has specific 24/7 rules of presentation. Cruiserweight, yeah. There you go. Yes. Was it about Julia Hart and Sky Blue, our women's tag team jobbers. Tony Khan pushing Athena and Ultimo Crappy Open Day to win the first women's tag team champions versus Willow. I thought we were talking about Athena and those guys along. Didn't they lose already? I thought they lost. Anyway, I just think that, and women have heard this before, it's not the number, it's what you do with it. And that's what matters in the end. Yes, you could have so many titles that you end up ignoring one, or it doesn't matter, it becomes irrelevant. That can happen. Don't misunderstand me. And we've seen that. Western states. Perfect example. Those type of things don't, can happen, and they do. But at the same time, if you focus and do that, it still doesn't matter. With two women's titles, singles titles, on each show, we've seen, the U.S. title get lost in the shuffle. And probably the only reason the Intercontinental title hasn't is because it's on a big star like Becky Lynch. At least that's my thought. Yeah. So I just think that people need to just quit talking in generic terms. Because generic terms are just that. They never say why. Why is less. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do. There's fewer women's titles. But what did they do with you? Fewer tag team titles. What have they done with that? The TNT Championship is important. It's elevating Kyle O'Reilly. That works. The Mercedes Moné and Oliver 17 titles, which people love. People love that. It doesn't matter to me. Boy, Moné we talked about that last week because she gets on people's nerves. But, you've got a women's title. Toni Storm has elevated that title. And I think it's helping Chris Statlander right now. And the tag team titles. We'll see what happens coming out of the tag team titles. They can put it on anybody, and it'll be fine. Look, again, it comes what you do it. I agree. Someone's asking me. Mad Cow goes, Jim, why Tony Khan doesn't have a cruiserweight belt champion yet? Yeah, very good. Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing is, what the problem is with AEW? It's not too many titles. It's too many upper titles. You've got to beat Okada to be the unified champion. You've got to beat a rising hot star like Kyle Fletcher to be the TNT champion. That's the thing. This national title needs to be down here. So Jay Briscoe could win it, or even, let's say, Beast Mortos could win it, or someone like that. People who are over, but don't get to beat those top guys, can win a title and fight over a title. That's what I would like to see for that national heavyweight title, where there's somebody who's over or can get over, but isn't going to win a title. I mean, you want to talk about too many titles. Thing is, those titles don't get passed around a lot. Talk about too many titles in AEW, fine. But it's not like a lot of them are hot potatoes all the time. They're not. When, by and large, I mean, certainly you can say, oh, they shouldn't have put the title on that person, or that was a mistake, or it didn't do anything wrong. That's going to happen in wrestling. That happens. But the thing is they need something for new guys that, a title that Josh Alexander could win. Josh Alexander could be national heavyweight champion. That's what they need. And that's what I hope they do with it, because there's just guys that are just not, the titles are too high up, to be honest. At least that's what I think. So people raving about Kyle Fletcher in the chat. Kyle is so, God, that guy's good. I should hate him. I really should. What is he, 25, 26? That much poise? That good looking? I mean, good for him. God. Yeah, I mean, oh my God. Just ridiculous. I was a mess when I was that age. At least I thought I was. But I don't know. So, thoughts on titles? I just think it's not the number, it's not the size that counts. Yeah. You could do it with the Don Callis family. The conglomeration could win the national title. You could put it on, put it on someone to establish it, right? Let's say Orange Cassidy, okay? Orange Cassidy establishes it. And it could be anybody. It doesn't matter. But I'm just picking a name out of the air. Put it on Orange and get it established as something. Somebody beats Orange. Josh then beats Orange Cassidy. And then it's something. The thing about that women's U.S. title, and look, Chelsea Green is over like Rover. Good for her. Great. But it's like, she's a comedy character, and now that belt risks kind of becoming a bit of a comedy title. Yeah, Claudio would be a great national champion. That's another great idea. Yeah. Claudio could be national champion. Wheeler Yuta could be national champion. Pac could be. There's a lot of options for guys who don't have that level. But, yeah, New Japan has a lot of belts. Yeah. New Japan does. And, which is weird to me, but it does. Yeah, that's what you need. You need somebody that those talented people who are not at that level can hold the national title. That's what you do. Yeah, Rush could win. Definitely. Yeah, you could do that. But I definitely think I agree that they do need some sort of cruiserweight belt or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, they're just, again, it's not how many titles. Get over that. This is the world we live in. We live in a world of overabundance. We have too much of everything. There's 5 different movies that seemingly come out every week. There's a million different streaming services. There's everything. Hey, what's that name? Some Kobold? Welcome, you're a new member. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm Jim. Hi. My voice is weird because I've had a lot of surgeries on my throat because I was sick for a long time. It damaged my vocal cords. So this is the way I talk, if you don't know. So just letting you know. Yeah, Scott Hall get over without a belt. Roddy Piper got over without a belt. But yeah, it's all about what you do. And if it's an afterthought, then it doesn't matter if you have 1 belt or 2 belts or Monet 12 belts. It doesn't matter. So, that's my thought. I wish people would lighten up, but they don't. Otherwise, it wouldn't be wrestling. All right, kids. I think I've given you a show today. Is there anything else you want to talk about before I roll out? I do have some things. Yeah, Tony Storm doesn't need a belt. Tony Storm is Tony Storm. She's Toni Storm. Everyone loves Toni Storm. But it was good for Chris Statlander. And she's a 2-time champion, but it's been so long she's had that title that it feels fresh. You got to say, even though AEW has a lot of titles, by and large, they're not hot potatoes. Certainly there are exceptions. But by and large, when they go with someone, they go with someone for a while. So, people just get it in their mind. This is the right way to do it. And don't think about the circumstances. Or don't think about why. Or why that's irrelevant anymore. And look, most of us here, let's be honest, we're old. The kids, they see things differently. And they're the ones you got to sell all the products to. Whether it's Subway or Slim Jims or whatever. And they're the ones. So I bet they don't see it that way because they live in a world of everything lasts for 2 seconds on TikTok. And we have too many streamers. We have too many YouTube channels, too much of everything. And they're just used to it. They're used to walking into Super Walmart and there's everything you possibly want. You know what? That's just the world they live in. And I think that's what she's doing. So we show that's just the way it is. But it's not the number. It's what you do with it. All right, kids. I think I'm going to roll out. I got stuff I got to do. I got family coming to visit who I have not seen in years. So that'll be fun, I hope. And I'll talk to you next week. So if you're listening right now on The Observer, on the audio, we're going to switch into my interview with Dan Murphy, talking about his book about Ed Don George. Plus, got some fun stories about PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500. Oh, thank you, Billy. I appreciate that. I love you guys. I'm so grateful you guys are here. I really am. No idea, and I mean that sincerely. But he's got some funny stories about breaking up a fight with Roddy Piper and Don George and his book and everything. So it'll be fun. So we'll segue into that next. And if you're here live right now on YouTube, download the show at The Observer, and you can hear me talk to Dan Murphy. Get his book, Ed Don George. I believe it's tealbooks.com. Scott Teal Books. Scott Teal, you know who it is. So check that out. And we will talk to you next week, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will talk to you. Oh, look, you guys are too nice. Thank you. Oh, dude, that's so nice. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me, James Jones. It really does. Like I say, I work with the voice. It bugs me. And I do my best to try to, but it is what it is. Thank you. That means you made my whole day. And I sincerely mean that. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for bearing with me. And we'll see you next time. Take care.